And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be outlining all the shapes. So to do that, you're going to go up to this line looking tool and click the arrow, down arrow, and pick the curve. So I'm going to pick that. I'm going to start with the shape of her face, and I might zoom in just a little bit to help me see what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with the curve tool, and I'm going to click the top of her hairline and just follow that curve. You'll notice that as you drag the line, it will curve for you. Doesn't have to be perfect because we can fix it later. You're going to notice that if you do shorter distances, it's easier to get the curves. So every time it's changing a curve, I'm just clicking. Like I said, it's okay if it's not perfect right now. We can edit this line later. So I'm just going to click around the curve. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that it ends up enclosing the shape. So you'll see how it just kind of snaps to where I started. And if I click right there, it's going to enclose that shape for me. Now to work on the rest of the face, I need to be able to see it. So I'm going to go up to this fill tool, this paint bucket, click that and click on transparent. So now I can see the rest of the face. So I think the next area I'm going to do is the eyes, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit more so I can see her eyes and go back to the curve tool. So I'm going to start with the basic inside shape of her eye. So I'm going to start from the corner and just click along all the edges. And then make sure it closes in when I'm done. And then go back to the fill tool and transparency. And then next thing I'm going to do is do the white of her eye. So we're basically going to be coloring this in. Just think of it as layers of like colored paper. And it's okay if they overlap a little bit. Go back to the fill tool, click on transparent. And then I'm going to go ahead and do her iris. And since it's a circle, I'm going to actually use the shape tool and go to circle. If you hold the shift button down as you are clicking and dragging, it'll make sure that it stays a circle and doesn't get to be an oval. And I'm just going to move it to where I need it. And then I'm going to make it transparent again. We'll unclick on that. And if you need to move it up a little bit, you can. Let's see. There. All right. I actually looks like it's a little bit too big, so I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller. There we go. Oh. Okay. And now I'm going to go to my circle tool again and make her pupil, just the inside of her eye. Oops, that made it an oval. You can always click and hit the delete button if you mess up and try it again. There we go. And I'm going to make that transparent. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the curve tool and do this little highlight in her eye. It's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to zoom in even more. And click back on the curve tool. Oops, it's selected. We don't want to select it. Unselect. There we go. Back to the curve tool. All right, and then I'm going to click the fill bucket again and transparent. And I'm just going to go ahead and leave this zoomed in for now and do the curve tool and do this dark line that I see, like the shadow of her eyelid. Oops, and if it does that and turns into a line, just you can either undo it or delete it. Either way will work. I just moved my whole picture. All right, so I'm going to go back to the curve tool and let's try that again. So I'm just outlining this dark shadow shape. So just we're looking at the shapes of the shadows and just kind of following the edges. And then I'm going to enclose that shape and go back to transparent. You don't really see her eyelashes, but I do see a darker line right here. So I'm going to go ahead and make that shape as well. And then go to transparent again. And now I'm going to go ahead and, well, I think I'm going to, while I'm here, do this little highlighted part of the bottom of her eyelid. That's kind of a lighter color. And it's okay if your lines overlap because we can change the order of the layers later. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. And then I think I'm going to work on this other eye while I'm here. So I'm going to start with the basic shape of her eye first. And we're going to zoom out. And then you're just going to keep outlining all the shapes you see. So the eyebrows, like the main features. Go ahead and do her lips. When you do the lips, I would go ahead and do them in two different shapes. So the top lip and then the bottom lip. Because if you notice, the top lip is darker than the bottom lip. And I'm going to go ahead and overlap the bottom lip a little bit because it's going to be behind the top lip. Then let's go ahead and make the ear shape. I'm going to overlap it a little bit with the face because it'll be behind the face layer. And let's zoom out again. I'm going to go ahead and do her this fabric that's on her hair. Since her neck is going to be a little bit behind her face, it's okay if I overlap that shape. And then we can go in and do like the hair. And I'm just going to start with the shape of the hair. I'm not really worried about all the strands yet because we're going to go in and make some more shapes for that. So you're going to go in and do that for all the details. I probably am not going to put in all of these details. Think about it as bigger shapes. But you do want to go in after you get the main features and you're going to do the highlights and the shadows. So I can see right here on her nose is a pretty big highlight. So I am going to go ahead and make that shape, which it just messed up on me. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And it might be easier if I zoom in. Sometimes you're just going to have to zoom in so that you can see what you're doing better. So you're going to want to add the highlights and you're going to want to add the shadows. So that was a highlight. I see, well, I think I'll just stick with the highlights for now and then add the shadows in a minute. I think it'll be less confusing if I'm doing one at a time. So now that I put the highlights on, I'm going to go ahead and start going into the shadows. So like this crease right here that I see by her cheek. And there's another crease over here. Outlining all the details and all the shadows. So I'm going to go ahead and do this shadow right here as well on her cheek. And it actually looks like it goes up. Oh, it goes up the side of her face. Maybe I'll start here. Easier. So you're just going to keep doing that. There's probably more that I can add to that. This photograph has a lot of different shadows to it. So go in and do all the outlining of the features, of the shadows, and then I'm going to make another video when I've finished all this of how to start adding color and changing the layers so that it makes more sense. And you don't have to worry about saving these because they're going to save right to your Google Drive, which is pretty nice.